Hello, and welcome to the anime emo hair home edition of Logic Tips by sflogicninja. Is that how emos talk? Okay, remember how I told you I wanted to go over some of the scary stuff in Logic? Some of the stuff that's incorporated in Logic 7, but they brought over into 8, regardless. Well, one of those things, and probably the most scary thing about Logic, is the environment window. So I wanted to give you one example of how the MIDI flow works in the environment window. I'm going to go over to screen set 8. So up here we see I'm in screen set 1. So I'm going to hit 8. And we give me another arrange window. Well, that's nice and all, but I'm going to open up the environment window. And I'm going to close the arrange window, and I'm going to make this full screen. So the environment window, basically, you have your workspace here on the right, and then over here you have your parameter area. And what's going on here, this is called a layer. This is the click imports layer. This is basically, we're telling Logic how it's receiving MIDI into the computer. So right now in my physical input object, it says, hey, you've got port 1 and you've got caps lock keyboard. If I hit caps lock at any time, I get a keyboard like this, which allows me to play the keyboard with the keys on my keyboard. That's kind of slick, but that's only one of the MIDI inputs I've got. The other MIDI input that I have is coming from my Oxygen 8. I have a little tiny Oxygen 8 here at home for when I'm sketching. So that shows up automatically. Any MIDI interfaces that you have hooked up to your computer will show up automatically here. Now, the most important rule with Logic is that you must have a physical input tied into an object called the sequencer input. And right now what's happening is I've got the sum of all of my MIDI inputs are going via this circuitous route to the sequencer input. I actually don't need all this stuff. The keyboard, which is named input nodes, and this little monitor deal, these are just basically showing me when I play something that something is going into Logic, right? So I'm going to kill these off. Then I'll take the sum of all of my MIDI input and I'm going to tie it into the sequencer input. Here's what that means. When the MIDI comes into Logic from your keyboard, when your keyboard sends a MIDI note, it comes into your physical input object, travels down this cable, and ends up here. The sequencer input object is basically saying, go to the arrange window. And when we're in the arrange window, whatever is in our track list will play. Okay, so once again, physical input, MIDI comes in, goes to the sum out, travels down this cable into the sequencer input. The sequencer input tells any MIDI information to go to the arrange window. Okay, simple enough. Once it's in the arrange window, then our track is going to determine how that MIDI is used. Please go to part 2.